We have a special guest today, Sage Steele. Welcome to Murfreesboro.
Thank you. I've never been to Murfreesboro, Pastor Allen.
Well, your life
First
has been
time.
incomplete.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
I got to know you on SportsCenter. So maybe we start there with,
Yeah.
because, I mean, there were some unexpected, well, I mean, first, a lot of success. Mm-hmm. I won't say really early. I'm sure you worked really hard, but for those of us on the outside, you showed up.
That's how it tends to happen. You just kind of appear, you know, but yeah, it was a childhood dream.
Sports journalism?
Yes, to be a sportscaster. Yep.
You an athlete?
And in my own mind,
We
I was
all
a
are
pretty
in our
good
own
high
mind.
school volleyball player, but that's as far as it goes. In the 80s, I was 11 or 12 years old watching the LA Olympics in 84 and knew at that moment that that's what I wanted to do.
Wow.
Because I knew I wasn't going to be a good enough athlete to play anything past high school. So what's the second best thing is to talk about it and to get to know the why behind athletes, coaches, like what makes them great. And it's funny, I look back now, I felt at a young age how sport brought people together. And you are at a football game, a basketball game, and you might not know who you're sitting next to, but you're high-fiving them when your team's doing well, aren't you?
Absolutely.
And so for 3 hours on a Sunday, everybody's friends. The world is at peace, at least in that stadium. And I remember wanting to be a part of that. So that's where the dream began. And then it was, an 11 or 12-year journey through local TV, regional TV, before getting to ESPN, and then 16 and a half years there. SportsCenter was my ultimate dream. And I'll never forget that first day. And even though the ending of my time there was not great, I wouldn't change a thing. I loved it.
I've met you around some Turning Point USA events, and I think we've got to talk about that. That's the obvious part of the day. Our friend Charlie got promoted. But that's where I saw you, was at some of those events. And how did you get to know Charlie?
He reached out to me on Twitter several years back.
I can believe that.
And just had some nice words to say. And I thought, Charlie Kirk knows who I am. I was still at ESPN and being muzzled at the time. And I think he probably, he's quite intuitive, right? I think he probably felt it. And then I'd pull back because I'd get in trouble. But our country, you just felt it boiling. And he just said some kind, encouraging things. Obviously, in the last year leading up to the election, and I'd been gone from ESPN for about a year at the time. And listen, who knew? The last thing I ever imagined was me on a campaign trail for anybody, much less Donald Trump. And there I was. It was amazing, and it was so inspiring to then be able to sit next to Charlie and pick his brain a little bit and derive some of the courage that he displayed. I just wanted a little tiny piece of it. And then when he asked me summer of 23, I guess, the Turning Point USA, the Faith event in West Palm. Yeah. Yep. I was so scared because I knew the importance of what he was doing.
Right.
And I had never talked openly about my faith. It's scary.
I've watched that part of your story kind of unfold a bit. You're doing well.
Yeah.
You really are.
Thank you. It's every time I do it, I'm always so grateful for the opportunity, and I feel like I receive so many gifts from that because of what I hear from others who are like, okay, if she can do it, I can. Someone who didn't grow up that way.
Right.
So there's so many blessings from just being out there and being vulnerable, and that's what Erica taught me. I only met Erica in person one time, and we've stayed in touch. But that was at AmFest last year. And what we spoke about, and then after that, really, really changed me. And for me I'm 20 plus years older than Charlie was when he died, And so at first I'm like, these are kids. They could be my kids, and they're teaching me. So it's been an honor to be able to say that I got to do a couple of things with him.
Now it feels like we've gotten a baton. We can't be Charlie, but we have to be a voice for truth in the arenas where we are. But the Lord had already started you on that path. You said it a minute ago, something about your bosses would pull you back. What's that mean? I thought we have free speech and that the networks are champions of inclusivity and openness.
Diversity.
Yes.
Acceptance, inclusion. Not so much.
Not so much.
You know, I think a lot has changed since I left that world 2 years ago. And it's amazing what can happen when someone else is in the White House, someone who actually believes in that.
Leadership really matters.
Yeah, it actually does. That's why your vote matters. You know, I don't disagree with, in my case, ESPN, Disney at the time saying, I mean, this. Let's actually go back 10 years ago. And when Donald Trump decided to run, came down that golden escalator in 2015 and then 2016. I mean, we were told very clearly and explicitly, no politics, not on our airwaves, not on social media. And most of us listened until Donald Trump won in 2016. And when our leadership, when our vice presidents were tweeting terrible things about him, it was so confusing. I'm a rule follower. I really, believe it or not, tried to never stir the pot and just make sure everybody likes me. I know people are like, really? Trust me, ask my mom. I was such a good kid. I don't know what happened. And that's when everything kind of got crazy. And the problem is a lot of our leadership didn't like Donald Trump. And so therefore they said it was okay for certain people to say those things because they agreed, which is not leadership. It's bad business is what that is. And so that's where it began. And then it vamped up in 2020 with COVID, et cetera. And I just never understood the double standard. And that's when I started to inadvertently at first speak up. It was not intentional. Again, I had a job that I loved, 3 kids to support by myself. Like I needed that job too. So I'm going to stay in line.
Right.
And when I ended up standing up and actually suing Disney and ESPN, it was only because of that, because they punished me, suspended me, took assignments away, et cetera, for saying what I said about being forced to take a COVID shot on a separate podcast away from ESPN, while my peers were allowed to talk about how devastated they were that Roe versus Wade was overturned, or the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida on ESPN airwaves. And so the double standard is when after you punish me, but then allow that because as a leader you agree with those views, that's when it wasn't okay. So it makes me sad that they allowed it to get to that point.
Right.
But as a leader, you have to be, as a parent, you have to be consistent. And then once the toothpaste is out of the tube in many ways with those people on the left and everything turned woke, everything turned political, again, bad business decision. And I firmly believe, I would tell my bosses this, people are not coming to watch ESPN to hear our opinions on politics. They are coming for highlights and interviews and to yell about their team losing or whatever it is. But we are an escape and we're ruining that. And I think that's what happened.
I think it's more complicated than that. Because people would say the same thing about church. They'll say they don't come to church to hear politics. They come to hear a Bible story. Mm-hmm. You know, they want to talk about the Pharisees and the Sadducees in first century culture. They come for an escape from the combativeness of our culture. But I think whether it's the media or the church, we are presenting something. We are presenting a moral viewpoint. We are presenting a worldview. We are advocating for something. And I think we've used that language to hide from things we didn't want to address. And I agree. I think SportsCenter is about sports. But I've watched my share of it, and you get a sense of worldview as you watch it. And I respect you for standing up and saying this perspective needs to be a part of the dialogue. Or
at least allow both.
Right.
That's all it was
I can stand the diversity of opinions. Let me sort it out.
Absolutely. But when you punish one side, either side, that's not actually what you're preaching. And so that was the rub. And listen, I think their numbers have been affected. Ratings, advertising has been affected greatly by it. And it's unfortunate. So listen, yes, there are lines that have been crossed, and I'm okay with it. Back several years ago, it was, Laura Ingraham famously or infamously said, "Shut up and dribble," and that we're past that. That ship has sailed.
Right.
And I guess not, and you have to allow all the athletes to do it then. And so you're going to get on Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or whoever it might be for being upset that Charlie Kirk was murdered the way he was. And these athletes are getting crushed for just recognizing how horrible that was. What? So I think it's an all or nothing thing. You cannot, I mean, you can, but I think there are repercussions. And that's what we're seeing a lot now, that there's repercussions when you only allow the voices that you agree with.
I think we have to go back into those corporate boardrooms. From my vantage point, I'm a little older than you. And for several decades, we were told if someone said they were offended by our faith, we should be quiet and retreat. If one solitary person raised their hand and said, I'm offended, then we should withdraw completely. And we complied.
We did.
I mean, we did. We took our stories and we stepped out. And now we find ourselves when those corporate boardrooms are dominated by worldviews. And if I raise my hand and say I am offended, they tell me to shut up.
Exactly.
So now I'm embarrassed. I'm like, I surrendered the field. And I'm going to have to invest the effort, the energy, the focus, make the sacrifices to retake some of that territory, because my faith belongs in the public square as much as their faith does. And so it's why I appreciate your courage. You had gained everything and had much to gain by overlooking, and you chose not to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. I did for a long time, and I try not to regret it, because that's where I was at that time.
Yeah,
and
but
it took what it took to find it. And
that's
then
formation.
It's a journey, yeah.
You know, those muscles, we have physical muscles we develop, but we have spiritual muscles and character muscles, and all of those have to be developed as well. And you had I don't think you can be a world-class athlete without having a certain amount of genetic advantage. Then you have to put in the work. And God gave you the character, and you put in the work to let that character be expressed, which makes me think the best is still ahead of you. He didn't bring you through that season to diminish your voice. It may take a different, I'm curious, so post ESPN, you've been on a journey.
I have. It's crazy.
It is. Tell us a little bit.
It's been so fun and scary and completely unpredictable and
Sounds
awesome
like God.
and devastating. And yes, all of it.
Yeah.
And I get so emotional when I think about it and think about how I felt that day that I settled out of court with Disney, and I was in at a law firm in Los Angeles with a mediator and my attorneys. I'd never hired an attorney for anything in my life. Probably should have, and for past things, and hadn't. And the big Disney powerful people are in the room next to me. And when we agreed to it and I put my head on the table, I just sobbed. Because it took so long to get there, and a dream that came to an end in a way that I thought was just so unnecessary. And from that moment on, I remember getting on that plane the next day and pushing send on my tweet, my public statement that we had agreed to, and realizing that when I landed, I didn't know what that was going to look like.
Wow.
And for a long time, and I started to speak up, and Fox News and other networks would have me on, and I remember they would ask me a question, and I'd get scared, and I remember having this constant vision that Disney CEO Bob Iger was going to come up behind my chair and grab me by the throat and say, "No, you're suspended again." Like I had this almost PTSD, and I joke about it now, but it was I realized how much I had just been trained to be silent and to live in fear. And it was beautiful to take some time. I didn't really take time off because it's like, well, what's next? What do I have to make a living. I have to feed my kids. I have to do something. But to take some time and to reflect and to realize that by speaking up, it was so much bigger than me. And the number of people, the thousands of DMs and notes and emails that I would get from people, I feel terrible. I never was able to respond to all of them. But that's when I began to realize why I was on this earth. Not just for my 3 kids. That's number one, I believe, as a mother, to raise them. But right there, as important, was to be a voice for so many people who've been afraid for so long, just like I was. Because the fear is real and it's legitimate.
Yeah.
Especially a couple years ago, and my friend Roseanne and my friend Gina Carano and Jillian Michaels and all these people, especially former Disney employees who were shut down and silenced and canceled and celebrated the celebration that was out there when we got canceled. So the fear is real.
It's weird to me. They celebrate.
Oh, I mean, celebrate. And and as that pleaser that I told you about, who always just wanted to do the right thing and be liked, that has been a process to let go of that and realize that it's okay. It's probably the biggest transformation I've had, aside from my faith and being outward with that, is to be okay being disliked.
Yeah, but I think of it in my life differently. The fear of God to me, the respect, the reverence for God means, because I have a little bit of that in me, but I want to please him.
Yes. Well, that's where it is now.
And if it makes everybody else uncomfortable and he's pleased, I'm like, we'll roll.
Yeah. I hate that it's taken so long for me to get there, but that's part of his journey, and it's fine. But that's why it's okay now, because I know he's okay with me. And to continue to say it, I have never, it's funny, in the sports world, I just had this dream to tell stories. I didn't know it would turn into what it did. I didn't know, there was no internet when I started that. So you don't realize you're going to be famous or whatever.
There was life before the internet?
There was, apparently,
wow.
And I miss it, darn it. But I'm blown away and humbled at what people say to me, strangers, when they come up, especially with, keeping women's sports safe for women, with that topic, and the number of men and fathers who come up to me with tears in their eyes at airports because they wanted to speak up for their daughters, but they would lose their $50,000 a year job, and that's all they had. It's real. And so that's the beauty of this, of my cancellation and all the chaos and the fear pushing through it, is that I can be one of many voices. I've gotten to be friends with Riley Gaines and so many strong young women. She's 25 years old. I'm twice her age, and she's teaching me things. When we realize that it is not about us, and that our big mouth, in my case, I guess, can help others, or at least be their voice because they can't today, maybe tomorrow, what a gift. And that is, I'd say, probably, again, another huge blessing of the last 2 years, where I had no clue and no idea. And now I can look back at so many moments through the years before ESPN where I had this fear, but God was right next to me the entire time. And I'm just grateful that I see it now. Even though, again, I wish it had happened 25 years ago, I see it now. And now I have a voice to be able to share it and hope others don't wait as long as I did.
Well, my most consistent complaint with God is about his timing. But I have to say, from this vantage point in my life, his timing has always been perfect.
Always.
And I think he puts us in those places when he knows we're ready to do it. He truly is a loving parent. And I think, well, if you'd have given me that opportunity before, but I would have fumbled it.
Yeah, I totally would have.
And so I think the timing in your life was perfect.
It's overwhelming sometimes.
It is. But it's exciting. This notion that cooperating with God or yielding to God will diminish you, will take something away, that it's sacrificial. What a bunch of garbage. Everything I have relinquished to the Lord, I've gotten back better. Not maybe in the moment. I've done it in the moment. It's frightening, makes me uncomfortable. You make you kind of set apart from your peer group, and you think, dear God, I'm going to look like the village idiot. But then God does what God does, and you think, but I still do that. I still face that.
If you still do it, then I'm not going to beat myself up as much. I was real quick, I think you'll love this. When I was in college, I went through a really, really tough time and didn't know which way my life was going to go. And my mom and dad got on a plane. They lived in Kansas. I went to school at Indiana University, and they got on a plane and came to me. When they left a framed picture. And it said, if you want to give God a good laugh, tell him your plans. But that was so true. I had this whole grand plan for my life, and I was going to, do this, this, and this, and this to get to ESPN and eventually host SportsCenter and have some kids along the way. I had it planned out at age 18, 19 until that moment. And so I'm so glad. And it's all beat up now in this ugly frame, and it's peeling. And I look at it all the time. And he has his plans for us.
He did.
We just need to wait.
He gave you the grace to chase yours.
True.
With a great deal of success. And then he showed you something even better, which that is so cool to me. One of the outcomes to me of COVID was it forced us to acknowledge some things, the degree to which we participated with the deception. I mean, it was unsettling for me. Before COVID, I trusted the CDC.
Yes.
I trusted the FBI. I trusted that science would cross state lines. And a few weeks into that, I thought, this is bizarre.
Yeah.
And it's continued right up until today. And that's the Spirit of God moving.
Yes.
So I am very grateful for your courage and your willingness to share your story.
Thank you so much.